Welcome to Season 2 of the Discovering Home podcast, the show for Christian working moms who are feeling the nudge to slow down, come home, and live at the pace of grace. I'm your host, Karla Monterrosa, author, speaker, coach, wife, and homeschooling mom of two. Here we talk about faith, motherhood, and what it looks like to choose a slower, more intentional way of living in a world that constantly pushes hustle and busyness. This season, we're going deeper. Because if you're here, chances are you're tired. Tired of the overwhelm, tired of the pressure, tired of giving everything you have and still feeling like you're coming up short. If you're longing for rest, clarity, and rhythms that actually support your life and your calling, I'm so glad you're here. It's the beginning of a new year, and your Instagram feed might be flooded with people going hard after their New Year's resolutions. The workouts, the diets, the new year, new me energy. But maybe you're just not there yet. Maybe you're still recovering from the holidays. And while it feels like you should be running, changing, chasing the better version of yourself, you just can't seem to get started. And friend, that might be because your nervous system is still depleted from the overstimulation of the holiday season. Sometimes our bodies and souls are simply asking for what God designed them to need first. And that's rest before renewal. And if you're wondering why revving yourself up this time of year feels so heavy, I want you to know you're not alone. Let me paint a picture for you. Think back to the holiday season. You walk into yet another store, bright lights, loud music, so many things to look at. People are everywhere. Some look stressed instead of joyful. Some are frustrated. Some just look sad. And you notice it. Maybe you even feel it. You wander the aisles, picking up a few things that could work as gifts. But in the end, you leave feeling drained, maybe empty-handed. Or maybe you bought the thing just to be done, only to regret it later and add return item to your already full mental to-do list. You wish you had the energy for it all, but there's no time to linger in that thought because now it's time to make dinner. Or maybe everyone's already too hungry to wait, so you swing through a drive-thru. I said I wouldn't do takeout this week. And it all piles on. The mental load, the exhaustion, the quiet sense that somehow you're failing at everything, no matter how hard you try. Why does it feel like this? I don't share this to start the year on a negative note. I share it because this is exactly what my life felt like for years. I didn't have language for it. I couldn't quite sort it out. I just knew I felt constantly depleted, trying to live at a pace that wasn't life-giving for me. Looking back, I can see that God wasn't asking me to push harder or organize my life better. He was inviting me to pay attention, to slow down, to listen, and to honor how He had uniquely made me. It turns out, I was chronically overstimulated, and if any of this sounds familiar to you, my friend, if this is resonating, you might be a highly sensitive person. This isn't about adding a label or putting you in a box or telling you that something's wrong with you. No, there's nothing wrong with you. This is quite the opposite. It's just about the way God made you. You have a sensitive nervous system. So what do I mean when I say a highly sensitive person? This may be new knowledge for you, so let me explain. A highly sensitive person, or HSP, is someone whose nervous system processes the world more deeply. Sounds, lights, emotions, conversations, and even the needs of the people around you can register more intensely in your body and your mind. I first heard this term one evening while having dinner with friends. I had commented on how calming and grounding their minimalist home felt to me. And my friend's husband casually asked me this question: "Are you sure you're not an HSP?" I had no idea what that meant. As they explained it, something suddenly clicked. That moment of curiosity had sparked for me, and there was no turning back. So, as I often do when I'm curious about something, I took a deep dive. In the days that followed, my friend shared an article describing HSP as a personality trait found in about 20% of the population. HSP stands for highly sensitive person, and it refers to a temperament trait known as sensory processing sensitivity. The term was first identified by Dr. Elaine Aron. I began reading her work, and her book, The Highly Sensitive Person, pretty much changed my life. It felt as if a switch had flipped. Everything she was describing seemed to describe me so precisely. Suddenly, my whole life made sense. I'm not kidding. For years, I thought something was wrong with me. I assumed my sensitivity was the result of trauma or exhaustion, and while those certainly played a role in who I am today, they don't tell the full story. God in His kindness reveals things to us in time, when we're ready to receive them. And this understanding felt like grace. Highly sensitive people are often deeply empathetic, intuitive, thoughtful, and spiritually attuned. Many are natural nurturers and very deep feelers. But when we live at a pace or in an environment that doesn't honor how we were wired, especially in motherhood, it can lead to chronic overwhelm and burnout. So this season, we're going to talk about what it looks like to honor how God made you, to build rhythms that support your nervous system, to create space for peace, presence, and purpose. You're going to want to tune in, especially if you're discerning a slower, more home-centered life. Because if the world feels too loud, too fast, or too demanding for the life you're longing to live, this is for you. I'm so glad you're here. So what does it mean to be a highly sensitive person? In simple terms, it means your nervous system processes information more deeply and more intensely than most. This is not a disorder, a diagnosis, or a weakness by any means. It's a biologically based trait found in about 20% of the population. The term was introduced by psychologist Elaine Aron and is widely recognized in psychological research under its scientific name, sensory processing sensitivity. Individuals who carry this trait are known as highly sensitive people. Researchers often describe this trait using the acronym DOES, which helps explain how sensitivity tends to show up in everyday life. The D stands for depth of processing, and it means that highly sensitive people process things deeply. They reflect, think carefully, and notice patterns, connections, and nuances that others may miss. The O stands for overstimulation. Because so much information is being taken in and processed all the time, overstimulation can happen more easily, especially in noisy environment, crowded spaces, emotionally charged situations, or when you're multitasking for long periods of time under stress. The E stands for emotional responsiveness and empathy. HSPs tend to be emotional and highly empathetic. We feel emotions, both joy and sorrow, very deeply and are often intuitive and emotionally attuned to the needs of those around us. Finally, the S stands for sensitivity to subtleties. Highly sensitive people notice tones of voice, lighting, textures, moods, shifts in the atmosphere, and unspoken tension long before it's obvious to others. Really quick note here on what HSP is not. It's not necessarily the same thing as being introverted, although many HSPs do tend to be introverted. It's just a good strategy for decreasing stimulation that helps us regulate our nervous system. I am both highly sensitive and introverted, but many highly sensitive people are actually quite outgoing. It's also not anxiety, trauma, or mental illness, though some can be highly sensitive and also have experienced trauma. It doesn't mean you're fragile or too emotional, and it's certainly not something that needs to be fixed. What's important is understanding it, because awareness allows us to take better care of our nervous system. There are so many strengths that come with being highly sensitive. HSPs often have deep empathy and compassion, strong intuition and discernment, creativity and imagination, and a natural thoughtfulness in how they lead, care for other people, and move through the world. Many are highly diligent and carry a strong sense of integrity. We want to do our work well, and it shows. This is why highly sensitive people thrive in roles centered around caregiving, creativity, writing, counseling, and parenting. It can be very challenging to be an HSP in our modern world. There is so much sensory input for our minds to process: noise, clutter, constant stimulation, busy schedules. It can all lead us to be overloaded. Over time, that overload can turn into emotional exhaustion, and highly sensitive people often need more downtime to recharge. We can be misunderstood in environments that reward speed, toughness, and constant output. The good news is that when we understand this about ourselves and intentionally make space to support our nervous system, we don't just cope, we actually thrive and flourish. With a little bit of self-understanding and supportive systems or rhythms, these challenges become a gift. Maybe you've heard the phrase, "Why are you so sensitive?" more times than you can count. And maybe at the time it stung. It made you feel defensive, like something was wrong with you, like you needed to toughen up or fix yourself. Often the people who say this simply aren't wired the same way as we are, so they don't understand what you're experiencing. Your reactions may have seemed exaggerated to them, and maybe even to you in hindsight, but deep down, you sensed that your reaction wasn't just about that moment. It was the result of a buildup, the accumulation of noise, demands, emotions, and stressors. And what they witnessed in that moment, that response or reaction, was simply the drop that caused the overflow. You were overstimulated and just needed it to stop. And because none of us are our best selves when we're dysregulated, shame can creep in. You apologize, you promise yourself you'll do better next time, and then without realizing it, the cycle repeats. So many moms are walking around completely overstimulated. And honestly, it's no wonder we're absorbing our environments constantly. The lights, the sounds, the chatter. Maybe you even notice the low hum of an air vent that seems to bother no one else. On top of that, you may be holding babies who cry, grab, nurse, and scream when they need something. If you're juggling work and family, you're carrying a lot of demands, both physically and mentally. If what I'm describing feels familiar to you, there's a strong possibility that you're a highly sensitive person. I often say that self-awareness is the first step in healing. Once you know something, there's no going back. A door opens and you walk through it ready to explore, understand, and equip yourself with what you need. It becomes a strength, a gift that you can steward well. And this is why understanding your sensitivity matters so much. When you realize that being highly sensitive isn't a flaw or a bad habit, but part of how you were wired, it can be incredibly freeing. We are all, as believers, in a sanctification process, and the fact that the Lord is bringing you into this awareness today is a gift of grace. You can begin to take responsibility for your own well-being, learn tools and strategies that help you feel calmer and more regulated. You'll create healthier boundaries and start prioritizing rest and a slower pace of life. You'll choose environments that support your nervous system, and when you can't avoid loud or stimulating spaces, you'll learn to build in recovery time afterward. Most importantly, you'll begin to recognize sensitivity as a gift worth stewarding. You notice when someone isn't well. You sense the needs of others before they're spoken. You care deeply and serve others with presence and compassion. This is not a weakness, it's a strength, and it deserves to be honored because God made you intentionally and with a purpose. For the working mom who is also a highly sensitive person, especially in seasons of motherhood with young children, full-time work can feel uniquely taxing in ways that are often invisible to others. It isn't just the workload or the schedule. It's what your nervous system has been carrying all day long. As an HSP, your nervous system is rarely ever off. You aren't simply managing tasks, you are absorbing the emotional climate of your workplace, the tone of conversations, unspoken expectations, pressure, urgency, and the needs of the people around you. You're tracking everything and processing it deeply. You come home and immediately shift into high empathy caregiving mode, mama mode. There was no real transition, no true pause, no space for your nervous system to reset. You went from giving your whole self at work to giving your whole self at home. And young children require constant attention. Babies and toddlers need emotional support, physical presence, sensory engagement, touch, sound, movement, and help regulating their own emotions. For a highly sensitive mother, this isn't something you do halfway. It requires all of you, and you are glad to give it, but you're so exhausted that you can barely enjoy it. So by the time you reach the end of your day, you're not just tired, you're deeply spent. There's a significant pace mismatch that many HSP moms experience in full-time work. Most workplaces reward speed, multitasking, constant availability, and emotional suppression. But highly sensitive people tend to thrive with meaningful focus, a slower pace, emotional authenticity, and time to process and recover. When you're required to override your natural wiring day after day, it creates chronic exhaustion. It's not a weakness, it's just your biology. I can look back over the span of my life and see all the moments in which I was performing at a high level and doing so many things and ultimately burning out and crashing and getting sick over and over. It was a cycle I didn't understand. I just came to expect it. I knew that when a lot of effort, energy, and focus was required of me, I'd be sick at the end for a while, and it just was part of life for me. But this is often where the story gets twisted internally. We start to believe that something's wrong with us, that we're not strong enough, or that we're incapable of juggling all the things that most people seem to handle without difficulty. Although in all honesty, we don't know how they're faring. People are not encouraged to talk about their emotions on this level. But you begin to tell yourself, I can't keep up. Other moms do this. Why is it so hard for me? I should be able to handle this. But the issue is not your capacity. It's about the right fit. You're faithfully enduring a rhythm that isn't sustainable for how God made you. And this reframing really matters. What if your body and spirit are simply misaligned and need a different rhythm? From that lens, stepping into a more home-centered life isn't quitting, it's responding with wisdom. Understanding this now can be incredibly healing. It releases shame and affirms the longing you feel to slow down. Today, maybe you're feeling like you just can't succeed at all the things. In reality, you just need a bit of downtime. You would thrive if you allowed yourself a slower pace or discovered work that aligned more with a purpose and had true flexibility to be who you are, and rest when you need it. The God who made you says you are beautifully and fearfully made. He called his creation good. You are not flawed. You were carefully and intentionally knit together in your mother's womb, made with a purpose. Discovering your sensitivity may unlock an entirely new way of understanding yourself, one that allows you to realign your life with how God made you and help you to experience more peace, joy, and purpose because of your gift of sensitivity. Discovering that I'm a highly sensitive person felt like clearing the fog from a window. I could finally see. My life suddenly made sense. Much of what I had attributed solely to childhood trauma or lingering stress was actually the prolonged effect of chronic overstimulation as a highly sensitive person. I spent years in a work culture that required constant communication, immediate responses, high productivity, and emotional intensity. Working in cubicles under fluorescent lighting, surrounded by constant chatter, intense personalities, and unrelenting demands. It's no wonder I arrived home completely depleted. Back then, my only real downtime was sitting in traffic during my morning and evening commute to and from City Hall. But now I understand, and maybe through this lens, you're beginning to understand too. If you're a highly sensitive mom who is working and quietly longing for a change of pace, one that aligns more closely with how God made you and the season you're in, I want to offer you a few takeaways today. Not a checklist to master, not something to add to your to-do list, but just some gentle reminders and invitations to begin caring for your nervous system with compassion and wisdom. First, rest is not a luxury for you. It's a biological need. As a highly sensitive person, you process more information throughout the day, which means your body and mind require more recovery time. Sleep, in particular, affects everything: our mood, our patience, our clarity of thought, and our ability to cope. Research shows that when people are finally allowed to sleep as much as their bodies need, it can take weeks for the effects of sleep deprivation to fully resolve. So go slow and be patient with yourself. Highly sensitive people don't function well on little sleep, and they often recover more slowly from it. If you're mothering young children and have someone trustworthy who can help so you can rest, asking for support is not weakness, it's wisdom. When my daughters were babies, the only time I felt at ease was when they were sleeping on my body. This may sound counterintuitive, but that's where they want to be. Babies spend nearly 10 months inside your body, growing, listening to the sound of your voice, your breath, and your heartbeat. Near you is where they are happiest in the littlest years. Voices will abound telling you to sleep train. Don't give in every time you hear them cry. Co-sleeping is the worst. You'll never get them out of your bed, they'll say. I'm here to tell you, listen to your instinct. I'll get more into the early attachment needs of babies in a future episode. I'm really excited to talk about that. But for now, just let me free you up by telling you, you know best. This is definitely a bit of an aside, but sleep training was a nightmare for us. Some babies are naturally more independent and better sleepers and can be put on a schedule and sleep in their own space more easily. For others, it can be quite painful. I had both experiences with our daughters. One was very independent and slept well in her bassinet right from the start. She was born with a built-in pacifier, her little fingers. She self-soothed automatically. It was such a breath of fresh air from what we were used to because my oldest needed constant physical touch to get to sleep, and it was hard. All that to say, I'm a big fan of baby wearing and co-sleeping. Even if they stay in your bed longer than you'd like, trust me when I tell you that season will soon be over and you'll miss the days when they slept on your chest or snuggled up in bed next to you. And if you're a nursing mom, there comes a time when they help themselves to your breast milk and you can just sleep through it. Trust me, it's a wonderful gift and it goes by fast, even if you don't believe me right now. Honoring your sensitivity often begins in these early seasons by trusting your body, your instincts, and the pace God designed for both you and your child. So take a breath. You're not doing this wrong. You're responding with wisdom and discernment. If your child is older and no longer waking you up throughout the night, whenever possible, begin to pay attention to your natural rhythms. If you're a morning person, you may need earlier bedtimes. If you're more of a night owl, you may need flexibility in the mornings. One of the greatest gifts of stepping into a more home-centered life after years of full-time work has been learning to listen to my body. I've learned that I often need quiet, alone time at night before I can sleep. And instead of fighting that, I honor it. I don't set an alarm. I let my body wake up naturally. And that single shift has been life-changing for me. Mornings are still hard. I'm definitely more sensitive to stimulation in the morning, and it takes me some time to fully wake up. But I've learned to listen to my body and make room for that, without guilt, without shame. And the rest of my life is better because of it. So listen to your body. If you're tired, go to bed. Even if you can't fall asleep right away, resting with your eyes closed for a period of time still offers so much recovery. Rest is important, and so is play. And by play, I mean those gentle activities that bring you joy, nourishment, and renewal. In a world that constantly demands our attention, true relaxation doesn't happen automatically. We have to build it in intentionally. So try to identify a few gentle activities that calm your mind and your nervous system. Activities that don't rush you or overstimulate you. Activities that don't require you to perform to the expectations of others. This kind of play is just for you. I know it's difficult to make time for ourselves, ladies, but we need it. Especially as highly sensitive moms. We are diligent and perfectionistic and always on. We tell ourselves we can rest once everything is done, but play actually helps us regulate stress hormones and restore emotional balance. So ask yourself what feels genuinely nourishing to you, not just productive. For many highly sensitive moms, that kind of restorative play looks very simple, like reading a physical book instead of scrolling. Gardening gently at your own pace, drinking tea or coffee outside while listening to the birds or looking at the trees, eating a quiet home-cooked meal without rushing. These moments may seem small and simple, but they carry more weight than we realize. It's also important to be selective with your social energy. Even enjoyable relationships can be draining for a sensitive nervous system. So begin noticing which connections leave you feeling depleted and which ones feel calming, safe, and restorative. The relationships that match your energy are such a gift. Make space for them. Prioritize them without guilt. It's okay to have boundaries as well. So if you recognize that certain relationships drain you, because they're too intense, demanding, or burdensome, it's okay to limit those interactions. Along those same lines, limiting social media can be profoundly protective. We were not designed to constantly absorb bad news, outrage cycles, and endless noise and input. If you're already overstimulated, that constant input can be debilitating, mentally, emotionally, and even physically. Protecting your peace is not disengagement, it's discernment. If what you're consuming isn't inclining your heart toward God, prayer, or quiet service to those around you, it may not be good for you in this season. Scripture reminds us that we are called to live quiet lives, faithfully tending to the work before us, often within our own homes. Another area that can overstimulate and stress a highly sensitive nervous system is harsh artificial lighting. Even if you don't immediately recognize this, prolonged exposure can lead to migraines, nausea, brain fog, and deep exhaustion. All of these are signs of sensory overload. I've spent long hours in environments with intense lighting, and for me, the response isn't mild discomfort. It's completely debilitating. Bright lighting can trigger migraines that last for days. While we can't avoid every brightly lit space, we can reduce the impact of artificial lighting within our homes. Simple changes can make such a big difference. For example, using warm lighting instead of cool or fluorescent lights, choosing lamps instead of overhead lights, and adding dimmers throughout your home that allow you to adjust the lighting, particularly in the evening. These can all be incredibly supportive to your overtaxed nervous system. You don't want to be blasting your nervous system with bright lights at night when your body is meant to be winding down. Creating an environment that signals to your brain that it's evening plays a big role in calming your body and preparing you for sleep. If you like to wind down by watching TV in the evening, there's an accessibility feature within your settings that allows you to turn on light sensitivity mode or reduce white point features that make the lighting from your TV warmer and less intense. These small shifts may seem insignificant, but they send powerful signals of safety to your nervous system and help you begin to wind down. And here's one that might sound a little odd and maybe you need a little permission for, because I know I can feel awkward, but it's okay to protect your body in public spaces. Some environments, even churches, I'm sad to say, use lighting that is simply too intense for highly sensitive nervous systems. I recently attended a women's conference where the lighting was so bright that I developed a severe migraine and was physically ill for days afterwards. I enjoyed the conference itself, but my body paid a heavy price. And so did the rest of my life, because when I'm unwell, everything else has to stop. For a long time, I resisted doing things that I knew would help me, simply because I didn't want to draw attention to myself. But ignoring this sensitivity only made me sick. So if this resonates with you too, let this be your permission slip. It's okay to wear hats or even sunglasses indoors to reduce the impact of artificial lighting if you need to. You're not being dramatic, you're not trying to look cool, you're practicing wise stewardship of your health. Less sensitive people may not understand, and that's okay. Like I always say, listen to your body and respond accordingly. Sound is another major source of overstimulation for highly sensitive moms. A good set of noise-canceling headphones is a good investment for those times when you need a little extra quiet. As busy moms, I know we need to be aware of our surroundings for safety and to respond to the needs of our children, but this little tool will make a significant difference in helping to calm your nervous system. And most also have a feature that allows voices through automatically. You'll immediately notice the sense of calm you didn't realize your body was craving. I use these noise cancellation features when I need to do some focused work, as when I'm writing for my blog or podcast, and when I'm in very noisy spaces, for example, while traveling. Airports and planes are the worst when it comes to ambient noise. So whether you're traveling, working in public spaces, or even at home, when things feel too loud, reducing noise can have a powerful effect on your nervous system. These small, thoughtful adjustments add up over time. They help create space for regulation, peace, and rest, which ultimately will allow you to do the work of motherhood far better than when you're overstimulated, stressed, and exhausted. Sometimes the most healing practices are also the simplest, my friend. Here's another good one. Don't underestimate the power of sunshine. Natural light has a deeply regulating effect on highly sensitive nervous systems. Even a few minutes outside, particularly in the morning, can reduce stress, improve your mood, and support your overall well-being. Finally, and most importantly, don't neglect your spirit. Spiritual rest is so powerful. Prayer, meditating on scripture, quietly reflecting on God's goodness, especially in nature. These practices offer rest for your mind and nourishment for your soul. They remind us that we are held by a God who loves us. We don't need to do anything to earn His love. He already loves us, knows us completely, and will not forsake us. That should bring us considerable peace. None of these adjustments are dramatic on their own, but together they do add up. They reduce excess sensory input and help your nervous system stay regulated. For highly sensitive moms, these practices aren't indulgent. They're not high maintenance. They're essential rhythms that make flourishing possible. And I want to leave you with this gentle reminder: your body is not betraying you. It's communicating with you. Protecting your energy, protecting your peace, and reducing unnecessary stimulation is all part of honoring how God designed you. When you do, you create space for more peace, more presence, and a life that truly aligns with the woman He made you to be. As we close, I want to encourage you with God's truth. He is not surprised by your sensitivity. He designed it. Scripture tells us in Psalms 139 verses 13 and 14 that He formed our inward parts, knit us together in our mother's womb. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. That includes your nervous system, your empathy, your deep sensitivity, your need for rest and slowness. From the very beginning, His design has been presence and love. So if your heart longs for slower rhythms, for gentle days, for a life that feels like peace instead of pressure, that longing isn't weakness or laziness, it's wisdom. It may be an invitation to live in alignment with how He made you. In Matthew 11, verses 28 and 29, He says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." You don't need to be afraid. God is faithful to meet you right where you are and give you the rest you need. If something in this episode resonated, if you felt seen, understood, or quietly relieved, please know this: you're not imagining your exhaustion and you're not asking for too much. You are responding to how God uniquely made you and to the season He has entrusted to you. Slowing down doesn't mean giving up. Choosing rest doesn't mean you lack ambition or motivation. And desiring a different rhythm doesn't mean you're ungrateful for the life you have. Often, it means God is gently inviting you to align your life more closely with what matters most and with how He designed you to live. If you're a working mom who's been wondering whether this longing for a slower, more home-centered life is just burnout or something deeper, I created a simple quiz to help you discern that. It's called, "Is God Calling You into a New Season of Motherhood?" This quiz isn't about pressure or quick answers. It's designed to help you reflect, pray, and gain clarity about where you are and what God may be inviting you into next. You can take it by visiting my website at karlabmonterrosa.com/quiz. Give yourself permission to approach it with honesty and openness. No one else is going to see it but you, and there are no right or wrong results. Only insight, encouragement, and some helpful next steps that meet you right where you are. And remember, you don't have to figure this out alone. God is faithful to guide you one gentle step at a time. Thank you for being here with me today. I'm so glad you're part of this community and on this journey with me. We covered a lot today. If these insights on high sensitivity resonated with you, you had a light bulb moment, or simply enjoyed our time together, would you do me a favor? Take a moment to rate the show and leave me a 5-star review with your honest feedback. It's one of the simplest ways you can support this work. And don't forget to share the episode with a mom friend. You never know how God might use your share to help encourage another mom on her journey. Your support and feedback help the show reach more women and grow our impact. Until next time, may you choose peace over pressure and trust the beautiful way that God has made you. God bless you.